Hello everyone, it is Catherine Gray Barnes. I am a drummer, percussionist, comedian, solo performer. Yeah, I do a lot of things, and you can find out more about me at catherinegraybarnes.com. But anyways, today is December 31st, 2022. I'm not sure when I'm actually going to post this video, probably sometime in the next couple of days. And it's that time of year when we're all doing our year-end recaps and making our New Year's resolutions, even though for many people the solar New Year just feels really weird and really arbitrary. But anyway, that's what we do. And so I thought, okay, well, I'm gonna do it too. And first I made a big old list of, all the different things that I had accomplished in 2022. And I thought, man, if I just sit here and list them, that's gonna make a really boring video. So I'm going to distill it down to the 3 big things that I learned in 2022. And then the one, goal that I'm currently working on that's going to be my focus in 2023. Cool? All right, here we go. So the first big takeaway from this past solar year has been that the way I've been living my life professionally, personally, in pretty much all of the different areas is really not sustainable for me long term. That's a lot of the reason why I left my middle school teaching job, because I finally, after 8 years, could really see that it was just never going to be sustainable and it was never going to give back to me what I was giving to it. And that was a very, very difficult realization. And the transition out of that job, it's been hard. I'll be honest about that. But I know I did the right thing. So anyway, that's the first thing, working on making life sustainable. The second one has to do with adapting. Okay. So of course, it's very important to be able to adapt to different circumstances and, to read the room and adjust accordingly. Like, all of that is so important. And I think I've been overcompensating in many different ways. I've been really, really twisting and turning myself to adapt to situations that aren't great for me. And I need to start looking at situations and seeing how I can adapt them to fit me. Here is a specific example. I've talked before on this video blog about my repetitive strained elbow injuries from being a drummer. And, I always blamed them on myself. And I had the running monologue in my head of, the reason you're injured is because you suck and you do it wrong, right? And I had a lesson with a pretty prominent drum set player. I'm not going to name that person's name because I just prefer not to. But this person said to me, the way you've been setting up your drum set is basically unplayable. And that was really interesting to me, and a light bulb went off in my head, because I've always had to set up my drum sets such that I would be able to play them, and then my students would also be able to play them. And my students, tend to be middle school aged and sometimes younger when I'm teaching privately. And so I've been trying to play on a drum set that's set up for a person several inches shorter than me. No wonder I'm injured, right? So in these situations, especially when it comes to, setting up equipment, instead of thinking, okay, how can I contort myself so I can play this thing? I need to think, okay, how can I get this thing to where it's playable for me? Another person who taught me about this concept in 2022 is Becca Laurie Hector, who's one of my autistic role models. And I took her course, I forget what it's called, but it's basically about how can you adjust the circumstances in your life so that they work for you as an autistic person. And I'm working on this. I mean, it's just, I've spent my whole life going, God, Catherine, why can't you do these things? Why can't you do these things like other people? And now I'm realizing that it's okay that I can't. And I just have to figure out how to make it work for me. And to be fair, it is a privilege to be able to do that in many circumstances. It shouldn't be, but I'm not going to be of any use to anybody if I can't take care of myself, if I'm constantly drained and burnt out and depleted. So anyway, number 2, adjust myself less and fix the circumstances more when I'm able to do so. And then the last one has to do with taking risks and making big, scary asks. I was listening to a podcast with Barbara Hewson, formerly Barbara Stanny, and she was talking about overcoming under-earning, which is like one of her big books and programs that she does. And she said that people who were high earners talked about making uncomfortable asks as a way of life. And, you know, I don't like that. I asking is very hard for me. It's not that I don't do it. It's just, I think I often don't do it right. I think I often make a big ask in a situation where I shouldn't, and don't make a big ask in a situation where I should. And it's just so hard to read. But I will tell you that this year ended with me making a big ask to sub with the local symphony orchestra here in the city where I live. I'll let you figure out which one that is. I'm not going to say the name. And I got to do it. And I got to do it on 2 different concerts. And boy, if you had told me at the beginning of 2022 that I would be doing that, I never in a million years would have believed you. So that's pretty cool. And I need to figure out how I can do that. And I need to figure out how I can ask in more situations that are really up to my level of musicianship and up to my level of training, which sounds very snobby. But I think I've paid my dues. You know, I think I've paid enough rinky-dink, low-paying gigs, and it's time to make some changes. So, anyway, and then the last thing I'm going to talk about is the stuff that I'm going to start doing in 2023, and that is, I'm actually already in the process of this. I'm doing this little group program called Making Your Life as an Artist that was developed by this guy named Andrew Simonet. And it's all about how to make one's life as an artist sustainable. And it's based on the work of Mauricio Miller, who was an anti-poverty advocate. And Miller's whole thing was, instead of, you know, giving help to the less fortunate, it's to sit down with folks who are in poverty and let them come up with their own solutions, because those are going to be the solutions that are sustainable. And Simonet applied that same principle to artists. And I love it. And I have a group of 4 really awesome friends who are all artists, and we're sitting down and we're, you know, watching these little videos that Simonet made, and we're doing the exercises in this book, and we're going to figure some things out. And I don't know what those things are ultimately going to look like for me. I'm still very much in the process, but I'm happy to finally be looking at my life and saying, okay, how can I make this work long term? Thank you for being here. Thanks to anyone who watched this, and I'll see you next year. Bye.